Okay. Well, like I said, we're sensitive to your time, so I'll go ahead and get started. A reminder, my name is Anne Marie. I work here in the library as a reference librarian, so I'm your go-to person. If you have any questions regarding library resources and research, especially for your dissertation program. So last week we talked a little bit about databases and searching and different library resources and tools. Today we're going to jump into two more of those tools that are related but not exactly library tools, and those are Grammarly and Academic Writer. So I'm going to start with Grammarly, move on to Academic Writer, and then if we have any time left over, we can either use that for questions or I can demo Zotero for you, which is another citation management software. So let's go ahead and get started. To get to either of these resources, you cannot go through Google and just type in Grammarly. If you try to get to it from here, it's going to ask you for money. I'm actually already logged in, so that's not a great example, but it will ask you for money if you go from Google. The best way to get to Grammarly is to go to your ucumberlands.edu website up here, and then go to your red hamburger bun or hamburger menu. I'm sorry, food's on the mind. And go to one login. So once again, I went to the home page for UCumberlands. I clicked the hamburger menu and one login. It's going to ask you for your credentials. And here we go. We land on a couple of things that UC provides to us. So that's how you know that UC is paying for it, is that we have to get to it from here. So here is the Grammarly button, nice little green circle with an arrow. We click on that to get into Grammarly through UC. So I have already created an account and it's going to automatically sign me in, but you guys are going to be prompted to create your own accounts. And then if you save that login information, it'll jump you in like it did for me every time. So you will more than likely land on this kind of page. So apps. What Grammarly is going to do is recognize what system you might be working on and giving you options for using Grammarly in a variety of those systems. So for example, if you are working on Windows, they have a app for Windows. They have a plugin for Chrome, which I'm using right now. You can also use it on your iPhone or iPad. And in addition, Grammarly for Android. Don't leave anybody out. So like I said, I have Grammarly for Chrome installed. That means that Grammarly is going to talk to me throughout anything I do on the Chrome browser. If I had it for Windows, it would put it across programs on my desktop. You can choose at what level you want Grammarly to be talking to you and go from there. So I'm going to be showing Grammarly for Chrome, but keep in mind it works on other types of devices and systems. All right, so if we hop up here to My Grammarly, this is sort of the landing page if you've already created your account. What you're going to see are the documents that you have been working on, in addition to this demo document, which is going to appear on everybody's account. So I'm going to go ahead and click this document that's called Demo, just to show you a couple of the things that Grammarly will do for you. So you'll see this box pop up. Please, please, please don't ignore this box. It's very important that we set our goals to the correct settings so that it's correcting us and providing suggestions at the correct level of writing. So if I were to hit casual or creative writing, it's not going to catch as many things like passive voice as it would if we are in academic. And that is indeed where we all are at this point. So academic, essay or report, you can choose one or the other. I don't think this makes a huge deal. And then of course, format. I know a lot of you are going to be using APA for your dissertations, but of course you can choose MLA Chicago or other if you are using another style. You can also set it so this box doesn't pop up every time. So if you have your goals set, you can check that and you won't have to do it again. And I click done. And here we are. So here's a little bit of a layout of the land. If you want to get back to your main menu, this little menu over here that lets you upload files, download files, print, and then back to My Grammarly home. Over on the right-hand side, you're going to see an overall score for your writing, the goals that we talked about already, generative AI, which we'll discuss in a minute, and then it's going to give you a sort of graph of what it is noticing in your paper. So in this case, it's just kind of showing you what all it will correct. It will underline things in red that are misspelled. And then you can go over here and sort of like with Microsoft Word and autocorrect, you can accept the corrections or dismiss them. I'll say, sort of starting off, don't feel like you have to accept every correction that Grammarly gives you. They are suggestions. Of course, if you have a word dramatically misspelled, please accept that correction. But don't take this as sort of set in stone. Take it more as, like I said, a suggestion. For example, it's going to underline things that are unnecessarily wordy. So it might ask you to simplify things. If you can't do it in a simpler way, or if you're using complex jargon, you might not want to accept that correction. So in this case, I'm going to dismiss it, and it goes away. Things in purple are going to be suggestions. That's where the AI sort of kicks in with this program. It notices that you will might be better than you'll. It will even do things, like I said, identify passive voice. So it's recognized that this is passive voice, and it's provided a suggestion to rewrite the phrase in active voice. It will also take a look at vocabulary. So as you notice here, it's replacing inspect with scrutinize. So we get a nice little thesaurus type tool there. So all of these underlines and things you see happening here are also going to happen in other applications. So for example, if I go to Google Docs and get into here, and if I start typing sentence, see my little Grammarly plugin down here? It is thinking about something. So this is almost like you're having your word autocorrect follow you around in Chrome. So I click on that little button that popped up here, and it's going to give you those corrections, but in Google Docs. So this also does this in your Gmail. If you're writing a blog post in WordPress, it's popped up for me. So it's going to pop in and out and use those same colors to indicate those same problems, and then provide you the same corrections in or out of the actual system. So that was just a quick example of how it shows up in other places. There is another tool down here, the plagiarism tool. So I'm actually going to go back to our home menu for this and click this document. So this document has 3 phrases, sentences, passages that are absolutely not my own. So for example, if anybody knows this quote, anybody tell me in the chat where that comes from? Don't have any Jane Austen heads in here. This is the quote from the first sentence from Pride and Prejudice. There we go, we have one, Tracy. So that is a sentence that's not my own. And if I want to check and see, have I indeed used words that aren't mine without citing them, I can click the plagiarism check button. Now, I want to warn you, this is an imperfect plagiarism check, as we like to say, because as it checks our text against billions of web pages, as you can see it doing there, it recognizes that it's not a sentence that belongs to me, but the citation that it gives isn't exactly correct. If any of you guys know German, I believe this is Pride and Prejudice in German. So it's not really going to help you generate the citation you might need for the edition you were using, but it does recognize that it's not your own. So like I said, imperfect plagiarism check. It does the same thing down here. This quote comes from Schweitzer's The Quest for the Historical Jesus, and it recognizes that it's not mine, but it tells me, it tells me that it's coming from this lovely Idle Hearts website and this nice little graphic we have here. So as you can see, it does recognize it's a quote, but it's not taking me directly to the page for The Quest for the Historical Jesus. So with that being said, use the plagiarism check. Don't depend on it. It is a tool that's there, but not a perfect tool. So that's basically Grammarly for you. You can use it as much or as little as you would like, depending on where you download it. Like I said, you saw how it was working in other applications in Chrome, but it can also do so for Windows, iPhone, iPad, Android. Are there any questions about Grammarly before I move on?
Do you recommend any other plagiarism checker?
Other plagiarism checkers. Right now we don't have one that we recommend. I know your professors might have some they run your papers through. I can certainly get back to you and see what our other librarians have suggested in the past. So let me write down a note to do that, and I'll send out one to your professors. Does anybody currently use another plagiarism checker they like that's free? I know that's the problem, is a lot of them aren't free. Okay. SharePoint. Excellent. Thank you, Lori. So I'll also write down a note to explore some other ones that are better options than Grammarly. All right, any other questions? Okie dokie. That also might be a great question for the Learning Commons. I'm going to put the email address for them here, tlc@ucumberlands.edu. They help with academic tutoring and support, so give them a shout if they might have some more suggestions. Okay, so that's Grammarly. Use it, like I said, as much or as little as you want to. It is something that UC pays for, so we do try to put in a plug for it. All right, so next we're going to move to Academic Writer, which is a resource for citation management that also helps you with your writing and using the APA style. So we're going to go back to ucumberlands.edu. And this time we need to go to the library page. So I don't know if you guys remember from last week, there are multiple ways to get to the library page. This is a good review. We can start here at ucumberlands.edu, click academics, and navigate down to the Grover M. Herman Library. Or we can go up here and make a little short URL. Oops, excuse me. You guys are seeing all kinds of fun stuff. Let's try that again. /library is what I was trying to do. So that will also take you directly to the library landing page. And if any of you remember from last week, we like the big blue button that takes us to library resources. So click on that guy. And you're taken to our landing page for using the library. Academic Writer is actually categorized as a database. So where you're going to find it is in databases A to Z and Academic Writer here. So just a recap, we went to the library homepage. We clicked on our blue button here. We landed on home, clicked databases, and we found Academic Writer. All right. So you see it's logging me in up here. It's going to ask you to log in, of course, with your UC credentials. So you won't be able to access this resource without that. Like I said, if you get to it from Google, it's not going to work. It's going to ask you for money. Do not pay money for this. Okay, so we have hopped into our landing page. I get a couple of little pop-ups telling me that we now have a reference for AI, which is very exciting. And it tells me about some webinars. we'll get rid of those. So you'll notice there are three main hubs, if you will, in Academic Writer. Learn, Reference, and Write. These were all created by the APA, so this is especially helpful for those using the APA Manual of Style. Of course, there are other programs you can use if you're doing, for example, Chicago, but this one's going to focus on APA. Oh, good. All of our students use APA. There's no historians sneaking in here. Excellent. If you forget anything I've said, or if you want to see a detailed reminder, you can always watch the Getting Started or Writing in Academic Writer lessons. So remember, those are there in case you need a refresh. And I'll start with our Learn Center. So this is a fantastic resource. It gathers information not only about the APA style, but also about research, writing, and publishing, how to do references and tables and figures, all within the realm of APA. So I absolutely recommend you using this, especially if you are new to APA or are trying to just get a handle on the basics. So there are short lessons to help you learn the style guidelines. As you can see, this is done in alphabetical order. So these are just a few of all of the exciting topics that exist. I'll show you what one looks like if we click into it. So for example, if we are looking at citing references in text, this is going to take you to a little mini course, and you're going to start learning, and you're going to go through different sections. If you want to test your knowledge at the end, it will give you a knowledge check and generate some questions so that you can see how much you've learned. Great way to sort of review, especially if you're a little bit rusty on APA. These quick guides are absolutely terrific. On that same line, there are tutorials. So if you wanted to start with a very general overview of APA, I've looked at this basics of APA guide. So it's going to go through paper elements, organization, grammar, punctuation, abbreviations, all of those fun things. And then a knowledge check at the end. Also sample papers. A lot of you, I'm sure, will want to look at a paper that might be something like the dissertation you're going to create. Maybe you want to see what a paper that has mixed methods looks like, or a case study. You're going to find those in here. You can browse by types up here, or you can search in the Learning Center. For example, if you want to see something that is a student assignment, empirical study paper, you might click on this guy. It gives you the title page, and if you want to see the whole paper, you just select the title, and it gives us a nice document that we can look through. I'm not sure if that document popped up, but in theory, you can open that document in your Word, and it will be an example for you. Not only does it give us sample papers, like I said, but it also gives us sample references. So if you're like me and don't remember how exactly you should cite an amendment to the US Constitution or something in ancient Greek or Roman work, art exhibition, now it's even going to have something for AI generated material. You can use any of these. Let me just click on one to show you anthology, and it's going to give you that example of the citation. Just like with the references in the sample papers, there are sample tables. So a couple of things you might have been already talking about tonight: chi-square, t-test. You can click on these guys, and it gives you a sample table. And then if you click the title, or the table in this case, it will generate a download and give you a whole document. So that might be helpful for you. Also figures. If you're looking at perhaps using a histogram, it's going to give you an example of that. You can also favorite things. Excuse me. I was gonna say, I'm not sure that I had any favorites, so good, that says 0. But that's the Learning Center. So please do take advantage of that. If you're trying to look up something like, what do I do with a block quotation? And search, you're gonna find things in the quick guide, things in sample papers, etc. So take advantage of that Learn tab. It's fantastic. You won't find things like that in Zotero or EndNote because this is more of a APA whole writing center. So now we're going to move on to the Reference Center. This is a place where you're going to collect all of the sources that you are using and store them in an organized and exciting way. So let me show you what the references look like once you have a little collection of them. My references, and it's going to organize here however you would like it to. I have it set to organize by author A to Z, but you could, of course, choose newest to oldest, title, etc. And here are references. So, as you can see, I've got some things, journal articles. I have a book here. I have another, let's see, that's another journal article, and a couple of other things. So this is what our reference list looks like. Yours can get a lot longer, I'm sure, with the work that you all are doing. A couple of little things you can do while you're on this page. If you want to check for duplicates, you can click this tab. We can run that, and look, there were indeed 2 duplicates here. So I could select one and remove, and I will get rid of the reference. Do note that you will not be able to delete a reference that you have already inserted into a paper. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, but those will not be able to be deleted for good reason. You'll also see some details over here. You can add the abstract, you can add quotations, notes about the resource, and it also is going to link any associated papers that you're writing that have cited this. So as you can see, I have 2 papers that have cited this resource. If you click edit reference, that's where you can go in and make any changes that you might need to. For example, if this title was not in the correct case, I could change that to sentence case. If it happened to be the 20th issue instead of the 19th, I could change that here. And then you can choose to put a DOI or a URL, whichever might be available. And you saw that I already have 2 saved quotations for this source. That is going to help us out when we are writing our paper. So just remember, that's where I see those here. If you wanted to add another one, you could put the quotation in here, and then it'll pop up on the right. So if you made any changes, you will update your reference. Do note the tags option. This is going to be fantastic if you happen to be working on a paper for a different class that you want to cite this papers for, you know, dissertation 736, or you can do it by topics. So you can say this paper happens to be about industrialization. You can add that as a tag, and then it will show up back in my references. Yes, we can leave over here. So I have added farming to one, but you might have seen that other tag popped up if I had saved. So that's what our list looks like. Now we're going to look at adding a reference. So we click this green button over here, add references, and we get started building our bibliography. So method 1, you can look at all of these options for resource types, and you can choose what matches. Let's say I'm doing a book review, and you can start creating your reference. So let's see, the review was in the magazine, and it's going to give me more of the matching information that it needs to create that reference. So obviously for this, you have to have the resource either sitting in front of you or a citation of the resource already in front of you. So a lot of people prefer instead to use the import button. If I click import, I'm gonna get a few prompts to choose a file origin and upload an RIS file. I don't know that we discussed RIS files last week, so I'm gonna go ahead and discuss it again, and if I did, it's just a fun review. But RIS files are simply files that have citation information. If you open it up, it just looks like a notepad file, but it contains everything it needs to generate a citation. Where do we find these files? A couple of ways. So typically you're going to find citations that you can export in databases. Not the catalog, so not this guy, but in the academic databases that we looked at last week. So let's say we are, of course, doing a paper in counseling. I'm going to say, oh, let me visit my counseling research guide and see which databases are recommended. And here we are. Our top resources list quite a few databases that are recommended for our research. So I am going to choose APA Psych articles. And for this instance, let's search the polyvagal theory. We click search here, and we'll find some results, 20 results that mention the polyvagal theory. So we're going to choose our favorite. We're going to say that this is indeed our favorite article, or the article that we need to use for our paper. And then to export the citation, you're generally going to look for a tool on the right-hand side. Sometimes they appear above in other databases, but typically you'll find your option to export the citation over here. So there are two different things. There's Cite, which generates the citation like this for you. So then you could go and then put that into Academic Writer using the information here, or you could copy and paste. If you want to export the citation, click this guy here, a little letter with an arrow, export. And you see this is gonna be how you get that RIS file. So it tells you, oh yes, this will go to things like Reference Manager, Zotero, etc. So I'm gonna let it do an RIS format. I'm going to click Slave, and the file pops up in my downloads. So now I have the citation file for this article, and I want to get it into my Academic Writer library. So I have visited Add References, and instead of Create, I've chosen Import. I'm going to select my file origin. In this case, I know it's coming from EBSCOhost. I'm not sure that the file origin is absolutely compulsory. I think if you choose one, it generally works. I've always chosen EBSCOhost, and it's worked for me. And then I'm going to find my file. You'll see these files look a little bit odd, but this is indeed coming from EBSCO and it's metadata. Sometimes it'll say .ris on the file, but we're going to click that. We just downloaded it, open, and then submit. So it's importing my resource, and now I can either import another file if I have a really long list, or I can go and view my imported records. So what did we just import? No, here. Treating trauma with child center. Interesting. Let's try that again. There it is. So it should pop up if we have date added newest to oldest. It should pop up first. As you can see, I'm getting my authors, the year, the title, the journal, the volume, issue, and the page numbers, and the DOI. For any of you who are rusty on a DOI, it's just a digital object identifier. It's a number that's assigned to an object that should persist over time. So we've added our reference. It's all very exciting. Like I said, you can also add references, what I call the manual way, by clicking on whatever type of reference it might be. You can also search in APA PsycInfo. APA PsycInfo is essentially a database of citations and of abstracts. So if I wanted to search for a matching article, I might type polyvagal here. And you can see it's looking through APA PsycInfo and giving us matches. Let's see, I wonder if I can find the one we did. Not in here. So that's an option to import a citation in addition to the create one manually and import the RIS file. So once more, I just want to show what an RIS file might look like in another database. So if we go to Sage Journals here, and we're also going to search polyvagal theory. And click on the title. And typically, like I said, it's going to be on the right-hand side or on the top. You can see here. Ooh, hello. This gives you the option to copy the citation up here, or you can choose your citation software. RIS would be the file we're looking for, and download that citation. Once again, we come back here, select file origin. I'm just going to put ProQuest, we'll see if that works. Click on the file we just downloaded with a weird name. Submit. You imported records, and here we are. Mindfulness-based movement. So this is all fun and great. We have sort of an online library of all of our references. We can search them, we can tag them, but the most exciting part about Academic Writer is actually incorporating them into our writing. So, hence the Write tab. You can either work on a new paper, so you can start a paper directly in Academic Writer, or you can work on a saved paper that you've already started. No matter which you are doing, please do remember to back up your work. So you'll be able to export this document and you can save it to Google Drive or to OneDrive. Just be sure that you're not doing everything on Academic Writer, sort of a rule of thumb. When we click write a new paper, it's going to ask us to select a template to get started. So if one of these happens to match what you are doing, you can choose that template. Basic paper is pretty safe. You can adjust the template. I'm just going to show you sort of what one looks like. So if I were to choose a case study paper, it's going to ask me a couple of clarifying questions. So one is this a student assignment or a professional manuscript? And that just has to do with the running head, author note, abstract, etc. We're going to say this is a student assignment, so we don't need that stuff right now. I'm going to ask you to give a paper title. So we will call this Polyvagal Theory and Practice Study. And we will start writing. So you'll notice here, after we're done with our pop-ups, even more pop-ups, that we've landed on a page that looks a little bit like a word processor. So sort of like Google Docs or sort of like Microsoft Word, whichever one you happen to be using. It's going to have similar functions: file, edit, insert, format, navigation. So here's where you can start typing. You'll notice that over here on the left-hand side, we sort of have our menu of the paper, outline of the paper is a better word to say that. So you'll notice that if I click on title page, this is where my title page information is. I could add in a course number, a name, the professor, the date, and then you could add in a running head or not, depending on what you need. The body of the paper is just that, the place where you start working. It will create new sections for you. So I could add introduction. Click the plus button, and here it gives me the introduction. It's also going to have sections for references. We haven't added any references yet. Tables, we haven't added any. Figures and appendices, which we haven't got to yet. So, please go away. We're not talking about you yet. At the top of your document, you'll find the edit option. So that's how you would literally start typing in your body. A preview option, so it's going to let you see what your paper looks like. Right now, this is my only page, and that's the only information I have. So what you see is what you get. And there's also an option to collaborate. So you can add users to the paper and then even assign sections and distribute accordingly. So say I am adding my Gmail, second me if you will. And I'm adding myself. They will receive a message like this. Add reviewer, and then it's going to list who your reviewers are down here. When you assign sections, you can click and then select whatever users you have added. I'm not popping it yet because I haven't accepted the collaborate, but had I would show up here as the reviewer. So back to edit mode. This is where the fun begins. So Academic Writer has all of these citations in the library, and it's ready to help you cite whenever you need to. So for example, I'm going to start my paper. There are variety issues related to the implementation of all right. This is a sentence that has ideas which are not my own. Look, Grammarly is making its little appearance with our underlined words. Very exciting. But I want to add a citation to this idea. So one, you pick where your citation is going to go. I know that this is going to be a parenthetical citation, so I'm going to put it here between the last word and the period. If it was going to be a narrative citation, I would put it up here, and I'll show you one of each. So we have found our citation place. It's right here between theory and the period. And we go to Insert and Find and Cite Reference. One more time, cursor where we want it, Insert, Find and Cite Reference. You also notice that if you want to bring out a table or a figure, you have options for those. So I'm going to click Find and Cite Reference, and then you can do two of two things, excuse me. Three actually things. You can search for a reference in APA PsycInfo like we did before. We can create a new reference, or we can choose one that we've already made, which is usually the easiest thing to do. So we're looking through our references. I know that I want to choose at least one that has to do with polyvagal theory, and we're going to click Lucas. So we decided we want this, and we click Cite. It's going to ask me a couple of clarifying questions. It has little explanations here in the question marks. So it's asking me, like I mentioned earlier, is this a parenthetical or a narrative citation? So a parenthetical citation is going to be in parentheses like this. That's why I put my cursor in between the period and the last word. A narrative appears, for example, at the beginning of the sentence like this. So we already said we know it's a parenthetical citation, and it is not a direct quotation. That's going to tell you exactly what that means as well. I click Submit. And here we are. I might have to fix my spacing a little bit, but our citation has appeared here. Not only has it appeared here, but it's also now in my list of references. Let's try another. So say I want to do a narrative citation this time. So I'm going to say, whoever the source is has given several examples I'm going to put my cursor here because we know it's a narrative citation, so it's being included in the text. Insert, find and cite reference. Let's see, we already did that. There we go. Let's choose Conroy. We're going to click cite. And in this case, it's a narrative citation, but it's not a quotation. I click submit. And looky there. It has given us the citation here and added it to all of our citations here. Very fun stuff. Let's do an example where there is a quotation. So I know I want to add my quotation here. So I might say something like, Roy explains, and I want to add a direct quote. So I'm going to find and cite a reference. There we go. Conroy, cite. We're going to cite parenthetical, but it is still a quotation. And where's the location of the quoted text? Page or paragraph. In this case, we'll say it's from a particular page, page 24. If it spans multiple pages, you could check that box. And then we can type the direct quotation here. So, I'm trying to think of a fake quotation. Sorry, this is not riveting writing, guys, but just an example. We click submit. And the quotation was inserted into the paper. It adds our page number, our other information, and it even puts it in quotation marks for us. If there's a source that you've already added quotations to in that references menu, because you knew you wanted to use those quotations, you'll be able to search those quotations. I'm trying to think where I put some quotations, I think, in this one. Let me see as an example. Cite, yes. It gives you an option to cite a saved quotation or a new quotation. That's only if you have a saved quotation already cited. So here I have two from this source. I will choose this one, click submit, and then it puts our citation in there, and once again, adds a paper. So like I said, you can also do this with tables and figures. If you want to look at your reference section, remember you can always go back to your preview tab and walk through your paper here. So we see my introduction, we see my citations, and it's already building that list of references for us. So that's the most exciting part, is that it is sort of letting us work on building our citation library as well as implementing it into our writing without having to think too much, as long as you've done the work beforehand. As you can see, this is not going to be a good idea to start a day or two before your paper is due, because it involves finding all the citations, exporting them, or importing the information yourself, and then inserting them into the paper. So this is something that please, 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 you should start in the beginning of your research. It's going to make life a lot easier towards the end. So that is Academic Writer and all of the fantastic things that it does. Yes, in 2014, you might not have had. Exactly. So the wonders of technology. So we have 10 minutes. Either I can take questions or I can show you really quick how another citation management software that's free called Zotero works. So I don't know if we can get a show of hands or if someone already has questions. I see a yes, Zotero. So I'm happy to do that. If you do have questions about Academic Writer, like I said, they have a fantastic sort of guide on how to use it, but you could always shoot us an email and for a reminder on how to do that, that is on the library homepage. You can chat with us or you can fill out the Ask a Librarian form. Okay, so let's do some Zotero demo. Zotero is a little bit different than Academic Writer. Let me show you how. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got rid of my whole screen. Let's try that again. Okay, now we're back. So, get rid of these guys. Zotero.org is where you want to go to start on our Zotero journey. There are two sort of parts of Zotero. There is a download option for your library, which looks like this. So this library lives on your computer as an application. You pull it up. As you can see, it has different folders with different items in there. I'll show you a little bit what that looks like live in a second. You'll be able to download for either Windows, but it recognizes that I'm Windows, and you'll be able to do the connector. If I was on a Mac, it would say Zotero for Mac, and then Zotero connector. You'll notice that it likes Chrome the best of all of the browsers. So I have already downloaded Zotero, but I would click download here if I needed to. I would also install the Chrome connector, which is going to help us identify resources. I have already installed the Chrome connector, so I will show you what that looks like. Let me actually, I'm going to share my entire window so that you guys can see what the desktop application looks like. There we go. So let me find my Zotero library. You'll just search for it on your computer like you would any other application. And I'm going to pull it up. Is everybody seeing this new little window here?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So you will always have this pulled up when you're online doing your research because it is your library of resources and it will build over time. So whereas Academic Writer's Library was sort of online, this one is based on your desktop, but there's also a way to access your account online and sync that up. So if you download, once you create your account in Zotero by doing register up here, you will be able to then go in and references, sync. And that's when you're going to put in your username and password, and then it's going to back up your library online. So I had that Zotero open down here. I did file, sorry, I did edit, preferences, and sync. So don't forget to do that. That's going to help in case your computer crashes. And this is what our library looks like. So you can see here, I have a folder button. You can add new collections. So if I was working on a paper for 736, I could do that. And I have a little folder here. And the little plus button will let you add different types of resources. It has some main ones here, and it's got a lot more here. So you can do it manually, sort of just like Academic Writer. So I could click journal article, and I could type in all of this information. But that's really not how Zotero was meant to be used. It's meant to be used with the online connector. So I'm going to show you how we start doing that. I'm going to say, please remind me later. Well, actually, why not? Try that again sometime. So let me see. So when we're looking for sources to put into Zotero, we have to find a record of that source. So it's going to be similar to like what you were doing with databases. So I'm going to go here to databases, and I'm going to use Sage Reference. Oh, actually, that's not what I meant to use. Sage Journals, my apologies. Here. All right. We're going to look for Walmart. And here we are. We go to our title, and this is where we will get our option to cite the article. I'm so sorry. Well, that's fine too. We've just gone to a different view of the article. So we could cite and download like we did before with the RAS files for Academic Writer, but Zotero makes it even easier. So once you're on the page for a resource, Zotero is going to identify the information that it needs to make a citation. And all you're going to do is click up here, and the trick is that it's going to turn into the icon of whatever resource it might be. So if this was a book, it would look like a little book. Right now it's an article, so it looks like a little page. I'm going to click Save to Zotero. You can choose where to save it. It's already chosen folder 736. I pull up my folder, and looky here, there is our citation. We have title, we have a URL, accessed in English. So as you can see, this isn't perfect. That's because Zotero is only working with the metadata that it has available. So let's see if we can fix this. Right now we're looking on that view. Let's see what it tells us here. Aha. So I went to this page, which has details about the resource. And instead I clicked the icon up there, and it pulled all the correct information, volume, issue, pages, etc. So that is to show that Zotero is only as good as the page that it's pulling from. So if you can ever get on the details page of a resource, that's going to be the best bet. I'm going to do one more and show you, click the icon in the taskbar. Yeah, it should show up here in your plugins. And like I said, it might look like an article or a book, depending on what you're doing. I'm going to go to the library's catalog. And we're going to see, oh, that was not where I meant to go. My apologies. Let's just do our trick up here. Library. And we pull up a bunch of records here. So say I want to cite this book. I click on the title, and I get to that little page that has the details. If you notice up here, this turned into a book because it recognizes it's a book. I click on the icon, it's saving, and we hop over here and it is available. You'll also notice that it will store PDFs if the PDF is available. So this is also a storage solution. Really quickly, because I know we're running low on time, this works with Microsoft Word, which all of you have access to. If you just go to New Cumberland's IT Microsoft Office, you will find a place to download Microsoft 365, so take advantage of that. I'm going to pull up my Microsoft Word. And show you how you would enter citation here. So say this is sample of sentence, not my own. I would leave my cursor where I want the citation, but I would navigate over to my Zotero tab. So this tab should be open as long as you have your library open here. I click Zotero, and I click Add Edit Citation. This little thing's going to pop up and ask how I want to cite. So I'm going to choose APA 7th edition, language, English, okay. And, oh, sorry, I didn't actually search for that citation. Let's try that again. Oh, it's giving me trouble. So in theory, when you click Add Edit Citation, a little Zotero box is going to pop up that you would search for your citation, and that's how you would find it and link it here. I don't know why mine is not working at this moment. Let's see. Citation might be a bug of some sort, but I've used Zotero many a times. It does work. This is just, of course, when I'm trying to demo it, it's not doing it. But a red box would pop up. You search for your source, and then click enter, and it would cite it both as a footnote as well as in the references list at the end. So Zotero has really good documentation. I know we're out of time actually right now, but if you go to the website and if you have any questions, they have great documentation for getting started. Like I said, the great thing about it is that it recognizes resources by what page it's on, and then lets you just click that button to save. So I know that was a very, very, so to attach the PDF automatically if available, yes. If the PDF, if it recognizes it, it will attach the PDF automatically. So if you need to go through Zotero, that's something that the Learning Commons can also help you with, or I'm happy to sit with you and look it over. I think it also has a Google Docs connector, so the Zotero tab would show up there as well. But it's just another option for citation management. Like I said, Academic Writers Plus is that it has the Writing and Learning Center. Zotero, probably that nice little file. See, up here now it's changed to a folder because it recognizes that I'm looking at many resources. So I would click the folder and it lets you choose which one you want to do. So good things about both. The desktop has to be open. You have to say the 360 online version. Thank you. Okay, so apparently you have to use the Microsoft 365 online version for that Zotero pop-up to show up. Oh, you know what, guys? It was showing up. It was showing up on my other screen. I am so sorry. Oh, goodness. Let's see. So let me add a citation and okay, the bar is here. I can't move it, but it does. Oh, there it is. Shows up here, and I can look up. And it's gonna search for me. I can't remember what we already cited, but that is how that looks when it pops up. We'll say Walmart, and it's gonna find that. Click enter, and it would go into my Word document. Woo! Not exactly like that. We'll get out of there. All right, does Grammarly work in Academic Writer? Yes, it does. So if you noticed, it was starting to underline my writing with reds and blues and purples. And if you hover over that, or if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, it'll show a little Grammarly pop-up, as long as you're in Chrome. Any other questions? Okay, like I said, I know that got a little bit rushed at the end with Zotero. I just wanted to show you that there is another option to Academic Writer, but keep in mind Zotero is not made by the APA. So good things about both. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm happy to stay around for any questions you might have, but otherwise I'll hand it back to Lorianne.
Yeah, no, thank you, Henry. It's so helpful. We really appreciate your time. I know it's a late night for you and just really so appreciative of you. So please utilize our librarians. They're amazing. So please make appointments with them, reach out to them, use the feature in the library to ask questions. That's really the best way to reach out to the library as a whole. And we just really are so thankful for this resource. If anybody has any specific questions, we can stay on for a couple more minutes. Otherwise, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And this recording will be going on our YouTube channel.